Bitcoin's 0.1% of the capital in the world right now. I think it's going to go to 7% of the capital.
7%.
My long-term forecast is it's going to go to 13 million over 21 years.
13 million.
13 million. But what is it 5 years from now? In your 4-year calculus.
It's been growing 44% a year with about a 40 to 50 vol. I would think it'll move on at 40%, then click down to 35, then 30, then 25, and at some point it'll be the S&P return plus 8%, and it'll be the S&P vol plus 8%, because it's always going to be a more global, open, free capital market.
Many people think that this person is just batshit crazy and he's hallucinating in broad daylight. But what if I tell you, if you had invested in his company, MicroStrategy, instead of NVIDIA, you would have made more money from MicroStrategy stock than the 900% gain in NVIDIA stock. Michael Saylor's firm MicroStrategy has outperformed every tech and AI stock that you can name, whether it's Tesla, Google, or Microsoft. Microsoft or Apple, market makers don't want you to participate in the biggest wealth-building opportunity of human beings since the discovery of gold. Misinformation about Bitcoin is very high. Here's an example. The BlackRock CEO denounced Bitcoin as an index of money laundering. Now today you'd be surprised to know that BlackRock is the largest owner of Bitcoin in the U.S. Similarly, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Chase, called Bitcoin a fraud and threatened to fire anyone in his company found buying or selling Bitcoin. But now, again, you'll be surprised to know that JP Chase has started buying Bitcoin. I can give you a list of many influential people who are scaring the public away from Bitcoin, but secretly accumulating Bitcoin. According to Michael Saylor and Bitcoin analyst predictions, Bitcoin adoptions and price rallies are still in its early stages, and the early investors will make millions.
The Bitcoin idea is, what if I just had a good asset and I didn't have to trade it, and I didn't need a company to tell me what to think about it? What if I just bought it and it went up in value every year, right? So this is a big stack of complex, inefficient stuff, a lot of wasted energy. And this is one thing, very simple. That's why this goes up 50% a year and the S&P goes up 10% a year. And as people look at that, they'll realize I can get 10% performance with a stack of this inefficient, thermodynamically leaking Rube Goldberg devices. Or I can just buy this one thing, which is thermodynamically sound, which will outperform all this other stuff by a factor of 2 to 5 to 10 to whatever. America's going to embrace digital capital, just like every country is going to embrace digital capital, just like they're going to embrace Google and Apple and Amazon and the internet and the like. They'll embrace it, but I don't think it changes how they handle the dollar. I think that central banks, maybe in time, the smaller central banks will embrace Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset, but long before them, I think corporations will, institutional investors will, sovereign wealth funds will, and 10 years is not that long a time in the history of things. I mean, if Bitcoin goes to $1 million, so it'll be somewhat more valuable than gold, but gold is still an insignificant asset. Gold is still an insignificant asset in every wealthy person's portfolio on Earth. So Bitcoin can go to $1 million a coin and be extremely successful, and it'll be starting to be embraced as digital capital, but we'll still be early.
Saylor's primary argument centers around the idea that Bitcoin is the ultimate hedge against inflation. Traditional currencies, including the US dollar, lose value over time due to inflation, a consequence of central banks printing money to address fiscal challenges. This results in the erosion of purchasing power for everyday consumers and investors. Saylor explains that Bitcoin, with its fixed supply of 21 million coins, presents a stark contrast. Bitcoin's scarcity, hard-coded into its algorithm, makes it deflationary by nature. As demand for Bitcoin increases, particularly in an environment of continued currency debasement, its price is expected to rise exponentially. To support his argument, Saylor points to historical trends. Since 2020, inflation has been a growing concern globally, with central banks responding to crises like the COVID-19 pandemic by increasing the money supply. This, coupled with persistent government deficits and rising national debts, has led to an environment where fiat currencies face long-term devaluation. According to Saylor, Bitcoin's limited supply positions it as an ideal store of value in a world where traditional currencies lose ground. The 13 million price target for Bitcoin isn't based solely on supply constraints. Michael Saylor highlights several key catalysts that could propel Bitcoin to these extraordinary heights, including one, major financial institutions increasing their investments in Bitcoin. 2, clear and favorable regulations that foster wider crypto acceptance. 3, advancements in blockchain technology and supporting systems. And 4, changing global economic conditions, such as inflation or currency devaluation, driving demand for Bitcoin. Saylor frequently refers to Bitcoin as quote-unquote digital gold, but with a few critical differences that make it superior to its physical counterpart. Gold has traditionally been considered a safe haven during times of economic uncertainty because of its scarcity and enduring value. However, Saylor argues that Bitcoin improves upon gold in several ways. First, Bitcoin is far more portable and divisible than gold. Transferring Bitcoin across borders or converting it into smaller units is effortless, whereas moving physical gold is cumbersome and costly. Moreover, Bitcoin's digital nature makes it immune to many of the vulnerabilities that physical assets face. It cannot be confiscated or destroyed, and its decentralized nature ensures that no single entity controls it. Saylor emphasizes that Bitcoin's resilience to government intervention or manipulation is a major factor in its ability to preserve wealth over the long term. In contrast, gold has stagnated as an investment, and in Saylor's view, it doesn't offer the same upside potential that Bitcoin does. He expects Bitcoin to continue replacing gold as the go-to safe haven for investors, with more capital flowing out of precious metals and into digital assets. In fact, Saylor projects that even a small shift of global wealth from gold to Bitcoin could have a significant impact on Bitcoin's price. Saylor is not just looking at Bitcoin as a hedge against short-term volatility or inflation, but as a multi-decade opportunity for wealth creation. He explains that as Bitcoin adoption grows, it will become a crucial component of individual and institutional portfolios alike. Much like how early investors in the internet and technology companies saw massive gains, Saylor believes that those who accumulate Bitcoin early will benefit from exponential returns over the next 20 to 30 years. For Saylor, Bitcoin is not just a speculative asset. It is a long-term play that could provide financial security for future generations. As fiat currencies continue to erode in value, holding Bitcoin will allow individuals to preserve and grow their wealth in an increasingly digital world. Saylor's belief is that Bitcoin is the ultimate quote-unquote apex property, a form of ownership that transcends borders, politics, and even traditional financial systems.